love can feel boring when your nervous system learned excitement through instability.
When your body is used to emotional highs and lows, consistency feels like silence.
Silence can feel empty when you were trained to survive noise.
Chaos creates intensity, and intensity can be mistaken for passion.
Your body does not crave what is good for you. It craves what is familiar.
Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace.
That is how love becomes confused with survival.
And calm becomes confused with disinterest.
I want to start by saying something uncomfortable but honest. Most people who say healthy love feels boring are not broken, dramatic, or incapable of love. They are regulated exactly the way they were trained to be. The nervous system learns before the mind ever does. Long before you have language for relationships, your body is already collecting data about what love feels like. If love came with unpredictability, emotional withdrawal, yelling, hot and cold affection, or constant fear of loss, your nervous system associated love with alertness, with vigilance, with the feeling of always needing to watch, adapt, perform, or brace for impact. So later in life, when someone shows up consistently, communicates clearly, does not disappear emotionally, and does not trigger that constant state of alert, the body does not register it as love. It registers it as unfamiliar, and unfamiliar does not feel safe to a system trained in survival. This is why healthy love can feel boring, not because it lacks depth, but because it lacks threat. Chaos keeps your adrenaline high. Calm asks your body to stand down. And if your nervous system has never learned how to rest in connection, rest feels wrong. Many people think they are addicted to toxic partners, but what they are really addicted to is the chemical cocktail their body releases during emotional instability. Cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine spikes from intermittent reinforcement, the sudden affection after emotional distance, the apology after harm, the relief after fear. That relief becomes addictive. Not because it is good, but because it feels like safety returning. In healthy love, there is no dramatic relief because there is no constant danger. There is no emotional roller coaster. And without that contrast, the body says nothing is happening here. But something is happening. It is just quiet. It is steady. It is regulated. Healthy love is not supposed to hijack your nervous system. It is supposed to calm it. And for someone who grew up dysregulated, calm can feel empty, numb, or even depressing. This is where people sabotage good relationships. They start creating problems, picking fights, testing loyalty, withdrawing, provoking jealousy. Not because they want chaos consciously, but because their body needs stimulation to feel alive. This is not a moral failure. It is a conditioning response, but it does require unlearning. Because love that feels peaceful is not boring, it is safe. And safety is unfamiliar to those who learned love through pain.
What people rarely talk about is how grief shows up when you enter healthy love. There is grief for the version of you who had to survive chaos. There is grief for the belief that love must hurt to be real. There is grief for the nervous system that never got to develop without threat. When someone loves you without games, without emotional withholding, without unpredictability, it can bring up a deep sadness. Not because the relationship is wrong, but because your body finally notices how much it endured before. Healthy love creates space. And in that space, unprocessed pain rises. Suddenly there's no distraction, no drama to focus on, no emotional fires to put out, just you and your internal world. And that can feel unbearable. This is where many people confuse healing discomfort with boredom. Healing is not always pleasurable. Sometimes it feels flat. Sometimes it feels slow. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening, when in reality, everything is reorganizing internally. The nervous system needs time to recalibrate. It needs repeated experiences of safety without consequences, of consistency without withdrawal, of closeness without loss, of self. And that takes time. Healthy love does not provide constant dopamine hits. It provides oxytocin, bonding, trust, security. Those chemicals work slowly. They do not create fireworks. They create roots. But when someone has been conditioned to chase intensity, Roots feel restrictive. Calm feels like stagnation. Predictability feels like loss of freedom. But that is not freedom. That is hypervigilance masquerading as excitement. True safety allows creativity, play, expansion, and rest. But you cannot feel that until your nervous system believes it is allowed to exhale. Many people leave healthy relationships thinking they lost attraction, when in reality, they lost adrenaline. And adrenaline was never love. It was survival energy. When you understand this, you stop shaming yourself for feeling bored. Instead, you get curious. You ask what your body learned love was supposed to feel like. You ask whose patterns you are replaying. You ask whether you are seeking connection or regulation through chaos. Healing does not mean forcing yourself to stay bored. It means learning to find depth in stillness, learning to feel intimacy without intensity, learning that peace is not absence of passion, but presence without fear.
There is a cultural lie we rarely question. The idea that love should always feel exciting, dramatic, consuming, and overwhelming. Movies glorify instability. Songs romanticize obsession. Social media rewards intensity. No one writes viral poems about secure attachment. But secure love is not boring. It is subtle. It is felt in moments, not explosions. It is the way someone listens without defensiveness, the way conflict resolves without punishment, the way silence feels comfortable, not tense. But if your nervous system equates intensity with importance, you will overlook these signals. You will mistake anxiety for chemistry. You will mistake emotional unavailability for mystery. And you will mistake consistency for lack of desire. This is how people end up in cycles of attraction to emotionally unavailable partners. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because their body recognizes the pattern. It knows how to operate there. Healthy love requires a different skill set. It requires tolerating peace. It requires staying present without dissociation. It requires allowing yourself to be seen without performing, and that can feel terrifying. Boredom is often a protective label. It is easier to say I am bored than to say I am uncomfortable with safety, because safety demands vulnerability. It removes excuses. It removes distractions. In chaos, you are busy surviving. In peace, you have to face yourself. Many people do not leave healthy love because it lacks passion. They leave because it asks them to grow. And growth is uncomfortable, especially when it challenges everything your body learned about love. The work is not to force attraction where there is none. The work is to discern whether the absence of chaos is being misinterpreted as absence of connection. To slow down enough to notice the difference between numbness and calm. To learn how regulated love feels in the body. Often quieter, warmer, steadier, less urgent, and deeply nourishing over time.
There is also identity wrapped up in chaos. When you grow up in unstable emotional environments, you often develop an identity around being intense, passionate, dramatic, or emotionally deep. Healthy love can threaten that identity. Suddenly, you are not needed in the same way. You are not fixing, chasing, or proving. You are simply being. And if you were never valued for just being, that can feel like invisibility. Some people equate being calm with being irrelevant. They equate being chosen without effort with being unworthy of desire. That belief does not come from nowhere. It comes from environments where love had to be earned, where affection was conditional, where stability was absent. Healthy love does not require you to perform. And if performance was how you survived, not performing feels like danger. This is why boredom is often grief in disguise. Grief for the old rules. Grief for the version of love that felt familiar. Grief for the identity built around chaos. Healing means letting that identity soften. It means learning that you can be loved without proving your value, that you can be chosen without suffering, that you can feel alive without emotional instability. This takes repetition. It takes patience. And it takes compassion for yourself when your body resists peace, You do not heal by forcing yourself to feel differently. You heal by understanding why you feel what you feel. Healthy love is not meant to activate your wounds. It is meant to give them space to heal. And healing does not always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels slow. Sometimes it feels boring. But boring is often the absence of fear. And that is not something to escape from. That is something to learn how to stay with.
If there is one thing I want people to take from this, it is this. Attraction can be retrained. Nervous systems are plastic. What feels boring today can feel deeply fulfilling tomorrow when your body learns it is safe. But this does not happen instantly. You do not wake up one day and suddenly crave calm. You practice tolerating it. You notice when your urge to create chaos appears. You pause instead of acting. You ask what your body is really seeking. Stimulation or connection. Regulation or excitement. You learn to build excitement in healthy ways. Play, curiosity, creativity, shared growth. Instead of emotional volatility, healthy love does not mean lack of passion. It means passion without fear, depth without destruction, intimacy without instability. And that kind of love may not scream at first, but it stays, it holds, it endures. And over time, it changes the way your nervous system understands love itself.
Peace can feel boring when your body has never known it.
Calm is not empty, it is unfamiliar.
What feels dull might actually be safe.
What feels intense might be old survival patterns.
Healing love whispers instead of shouts.
And learning to listen changes everything.